My name is Claudia Brown Coulter with Brownie Culture. I am a divorce mediator and I help you create a customized divorce so that you can uncouple consciously and respectfully. So I feel like I'm in a rush. I'm already talking fast. And if you watch my videos, you know I talk a mile a minute. So I wanted to talk to you about this concept of break in and gas out. So I don't know about the older one. I have two sisters. I'm the youngest. Uh, so one sister's 8 years older than me, and the other one is 2 years older than me. So I'm not sure about my eldest, but for sure, the middle sister and for me, when we learned how to drive, my mom took us to mountain roads. She took us up to Big Bear. So if you're not familiar with Southern California, it's not Mammoth, no, but it's like a little ski resort, little, mountain community. And so she taught us how to drive on the Big Bear roads. And it was usually coming home, and it was one of those things like, no, you're driving. No, 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 you're driving. If you get too scared, you can pull over, but I'll show you how to use the turnout, drive on the right, and they can pass you. But you need to learn how to drive on these roads. And so she would always tell us, brake in and gas out. So when you go into a curve, you brake in, and then when you're like halfway through the curve, you hit the gas. So once again, my name is Claudia Brown Coulter. If you're joining me live, please say hello so I can say hello back to you. And if you're watching the replay, go ahead and hashtag replay. So I want to talk to you about this concept of brake in and gas out, because me, the nice, sensitive person I am, I was driving a canyon road yesterday, and somebody was halfway through the turn and they were braking, and I was like, oh, somebody's mama did not tell them how to drive on a canyon road, right? Like, I just kind of chuckled, which is so not nice. Anyway, sorry, I'm working on it. But you really want to take your time as you go into that curve, because if you don't, some really bad things can happen. You don't want to be taking that curve so fast that you slide off the road. These aren't issues on freeways, but it's an issue on a mountain or in a canyon, right? So you want to take your time as you get to that curve, and then you don't want to lose momentum. So once you're successfully in that curve, you hit the gas and then you keep on going. And you can tell the difference between people who drive those roads all the time because they live there versus people who are just visiting that area because they're really slow. The natives, they whip around the curves and they're honking at you because like you're driving too slow. Okay, so I was thinking about this yesterday and I thought, it's kind of like that for divorce too. Hello, Barbara. It's really nice to see you. Thank you for joining me today. So when you are headed into a divorce, I want you to think about that you are driving on a treacherous mountain road or a treacherous canyon, whatever treacherous road you have where you live. You don't want to rush into a divorce. There is really no need to rush into a divorce. Take your time. Even if you leave, take your time. Make sure it's a decision that you really are ready to commit to. Because just because everybody's telling you to get a divorce does not mean you have to get a divorce. Just because your mother and your third cousin is like, you need to divorce them, that may not be true for you, and you may not be ready. So you have to take your time. So put the brakes on a little bit. I don't mean stop. I mean, slow your roll just a little bit and really think about, is this something that I want? What are the consequences of this decision? And how is the best way for me to approach it? Maybe I don't want a divorce at all. And one of the best things, I keep saying it, but really think about finding a therapist, because they will help you talk through this. Okay, they will really, really help you talk through this and figure out what you really want. Deciding to end a marriage can be a really, really dangerous time in the life of a couple. That's where you get incidences of domestic violence. So you really want to know that this is the decision you're making and why you're making it, and really be thoughtful about it. So one of the things I would suggest to you as you're contemplating a divorce and you're pretty sure you're going through a divorce, but you haven't filed yet and you haven't talked to your spouse yet, is you need to gather your important documents. So make sure you know where your passport is. Make sure you know where your social security card is. Birth certificate, those things for your children. Any important information such as account numbers, bank statements, tax returns, deeds, things like that. Now, I'm not saying steal them. You're not stealing them. But if the house is only in your name, it doesn't mean it's not community property, and that's something different. But you should still, you need to have that. And if the house is owned by both of you, you want to then make a copy. So if you take the original, leave a copy for your spouse, okay? Because if you decide to just be like, surprise, I'm leaving, you need to have those important documents so that you don't have to go back. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I just totally had a brain fart. You really need to decide how you're going to tell your spouse. You don't need their permission to get a divorce. But you really need to think about what are other consequences. Here's my thought to this divorce. Am I going to stay and ask them to leave? Am I going to leave? What am I giving up when I leave? Did I purchase this house before I was married and now I'm leaving and they're living in my property? Even if I owe them some money in the divorce, maybe it's not a good idea for me to leave. Or did I get an inheritance from my grandfather and I used that money as the down payment for that house and now I'm walking away? You might not want to leave. So you have to kind of think about all of these things before you just be like, I'm done, I'm out. Okay? So you have to decide, you have to get your documents together, you have to decide how you're going to tell your spouse, and then you have to decide how you're going to tell your kids. How are we going to tell the kids, depending on their age, that we're getting a divorce? Now, if you hopefully you're not running away from someone, that's when you take the kids and go if it's a dangerous situation. But for most people, it's not a dangerous situation, even if that small point of time is like, this is not a good point in time for the life of the couple, and it could lead to violence. But most people, it doesn't happen. So they can decide together, we're going to tell the kids, you're going to have to let them know because one of you is going to leave. It's going to happen eventually. So you got to figure out how are we going to tell the kids, because you don't want them to just figure it out on their own. All right. So, and then you don't have to actually get a divorce. You can go, okay, my marriage is not great, but I don't want to get a divorce. This is what I'm going to do instead. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. So break into a divorce. Really think about your decision. If this is the right decision for you, gather your important information together. Once you file for divorce, there are automatic restraining orders that happen. So you can't just be like, oh, I'm taking you off my my joint checking account because it's just my money in there anyway, but I don't want your name on it. I'm just going to empty this account. No, you can't do that. And please don't do that. It's one thing. Now, before you get divorced, let's say you guys have joint checking accounts at different banks, but their money goes in one account, your money goes in the other account, and they don't really mesh. So we just have access to them in case of an emergency. You might want to decide to take them off of that before you file for divorce. Technically, that's legal. I don't know that that's really nice, though. So you have to think about those consequences. So once you decide to divorce, I need you to file right away. Don't drag it out. You've made your decision. I'm divorcing. I have to move on with my life. Don't move on with your life before this part is over. So file right away. And get your spouse served. Hire someone to serve your spouse. Don't send something through the mail, because you can do service by mail and then they sign that they got it. But what tends to happen is then some people just lie and like, I never got it. And you're like, do you still live at this address? I know you got it. You are just playing games right now. So hire someone to serve them so that there's a countdown. It's a 30-day countdown that they have to respond to your divorce petition within 30 days. Now, oftentimes, especially if they have an attorney, the judge will grant some leniency with that. But you want to get things filed, get them served right away. And then you want to work on your financial disclosures. Okay? And if you have a secret account in the Caymans, it needs to become unsecret. You need to disclose everything, even if you don't think it's important. Well, that's just my student loan debt, and I had that before I got married. You need to disclose it. That's my car, not his car. You need to disclose it. Well, this is my own secret checking account that I opened up that I didn't want him to know about. You need to disclose that. Because once your divorce is final, if your now ex-spouse finds out about it, they can take you back in front of the judge and be like, oh, well, they have this $1 million in the Caymans. And now, you can reopen your case. It's not that you're going to be married again, but then the judge can rule on that. Is that community property? They'll probably issue sanctions against you. You don't want to do that. So you want to disclose everything, because you're gassing out of this divorce now. You're gassing out of this relationship. So when you hide things, it takes longer to get through your divorce. And it becomes more expensive because now you're hiring forensic accountants. Nobody wants to do that. We don't have time for that. You don't have time for that. Your life, your children don't have time for that. Your health doesn't have time for that. Divorce is incredibly stressful. So once you take your time and make your decision to divorce, then I need you to gas out of it and get out of that as much as possible. Hold on, I'm almost done. Okay? So that was my son. Okay. And then the other thing I need you to do is schedule your appointment with mediators. Interview some mediators. Now, when you interview them, it really helps to have that other person, your soon-to-be ex, with you, so you guys can see, is this person, is it the right feel for us? And you can make that decision together, because a lot of times when you're going through a divorce, it could be like, oh, you like them? Oh, no. Oh, you talk to them without me? Well, then they're already biased against me. And that's not true. But it helps if you guys both meet them at the same time. So you want to interview them, and then you want to schedule, once you decide on a mediator, schedule those appointments so you can move through your divorce. Okay, so let me just recap really, really quickly. And then I have to take care of my child. He's really being very, very good. I would like you to break into your divorce and gas out of it. Think of a divorce as driving on a mountain road. Take your time as you contemplate divorce. Take your time contemplating it. But once you've committed to it and made that decision, follow through as quickly as you possibly can. All right, I apologize for the distractions. Thank you for those who joined me live. Thank you for watching today, and thank you for watching the replay. Listen, I know divorce can be scary, but I'm here to help you be calm and empowered so that you can get through this. So if you don't remember anything else, break in, gas out. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.